From a mysterious sinkhole on the White House lawn to a devastating sinkhole in China that swallowed humans and vehicles alike, here are 10 of the most dangerous sinkholes ever. Number 10. The Seffner Sinkhole. In February of 2013, a man was murdered by a giant sinkhole. It all happened when the sinkhole formed under a man named Jeff Bush's bedroom in the small Florida town of Seffner as he was turning in for the night. Jeff screamed out for help. His brother ran into the room, but it was too late. Jeff Bush and his entire room had been swallowed into the earth, and his remains were never recovered. This was one of the most devastating sinkholes ever in Florida. Poor Jeff Bush was literally swallowed by it. The Seffner Sinkhole was such a big danger that not only did Jeff Bush's house need to be destroyed, but his neighbors' houses also needed to be destroyed. The whole area was demolished and then blocked off for safety reasons. Then in 2015, the hole opened up once more. This time there was no house sitting above it and nobody around to be eaten by the hole in the earth, but it was still a pretty grisly reminder of what happened to poor Jeff Bush. According to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, sinkholes are actually a huge problem in the state. This is because Florida sits on bedrock made of limestone, which is very easily corroded by acidic groundwater. Basically, the water underground forms voids that collapse when the rock can no longer support the weight of whatever is sitting on the ground. Maybe in a few hundred or a few thousand years, Florida will be full of cenotes, just like the Yucatan in Mexico. Number 9. The Louisiana Sinkhole. Not all sinkholes kill people. In fact, most sinkholes open up in places without too many people around. For example, a massive sinkhole opened in the middle of the bayou in Louisiana back in 2012 and didn't kill anyone. Nonetheless, it was an enormous sinkhole that caused the evacuation of all the residents from the area. According to Louisiana officials, the sinkhole was likely the result of a large underground salt cavern that fell inwards and swallowed a massive chunk of the bayou. The sinkhole was at least 324 feet in diameter and 50 feet deep. However, one corner of the sinkhole went down at least 422 feet. That's a hole that nobody would be getting out of. This sinkhole was especially dangerous because it opened very close to a recreation area filled with guest cabins. If the sinkhole had just been half a mile in the other direction, it could have swallowed a bunch of people just minding their own business on vacation. Another dangerous thing about the sinkhole is that authorities were concerned that it was very close to a well that contained 1.5 million barrels of liquid butane. If all that butane would have been damaged in the sinkhole, it could have turned into a very flammable disaster with catastrophic consequences. Luckily, that never happened, but it was a very close call. Number 8. Berezniki Sinkholes. The city of Berezniki in Russia is the story of when sinkholes destroy a society. The entire city, which is located in the Ural Mountains, is gradually being eaten by the earth. This is because Berezniki was built over a potash mine. It was standard protocol in Soviet times, but after almost a century of extracting precious metals from within the earth, deep voids have been left underneath the city. The ceilings of these caverns have since started to collapse, creating enormous sinkholes all throughout the city. This is because in 2006, a freshwater spring began to flow into the mine way below the surface, and it dissolved the support pillars that had been keeping the mine from imploding. Residential districts, suburbs, and every other part of the city has been affected by sinkholes. The largest of them is named the Grandfather, and it's nearly 1,200 feet across and over 600 feet deep. This sinkhole is just inches away from engulfing the rail line that leads to and from the mines beneath the city. The situation here is so bad that federal officials are in the middle of a hot debate on whether they should move the entire city onto the other side of the river. Even though engineers are assuring people that the sinkhole formations are over and no more buildings will be swallowed up by the earth, nobody's that convinced. Already 12,000 people have left the city for better and safer ground. The rest of the residents are just waiting for the day when their house is swallowed into the mines beneath the city. Number 7. The Guatemala City Sinkhole. The Guatemala City Sinkhole is so large and so perfectly round, it doesn't even look like it's real life. The sinkhole in the center of the Guatemalan capital looks like something from an alien laser beam or a giant drilling machine. It's a perfectly circular tunnel going vertical into the earth. The sinkhole is the result of Tropical Storm Agatha, which decimated the city and killed at least 178 people back in 2010. It also caused the sinkhole to open up, which is estimated to be about 100 feet deep and 65 feet across. Luckily, nobody died when the Guatemala Sinkhole opened up, which is extremely surprising considering it opened literally in the middle of a street and caused a 3-story house to collapse upon itself. Allegedly, when the building collapsed, it took a security guard with it, but authorities have been reluctant to confirm his death. He's instead listed as missing. The hole also took with it electricity poles and the electricity of the neighboring people. According to some accounts, at least 300 people near the sinkhole were at the time in danger of falling into it or falling into a new sinkhole. The sinkhole is still there, nobody's fixed it, and nobody appears to be fixing it. It's not the first sinkhole in Guatemala City either. In 2007, 3 people were killed when another sinkhole opened up in yet another neighborhood of the city, prompting an evacuation of 1,000 people. Number 6. Dude, where's my car? This next story is more hilarious than it is tragic. Imagine parking your car on the street, going to visit your friend in a nearby apartment, then returning to find your car is nowhere in sight. It's one of those "dude, where's my car" moments, and it happened to a driver in the United Kingdom after she zipped into a store to buy something and came out a second later to find her car gone. But her car hadn't actually vanished. It wasn't stolen by any thieves. A sinkhole had opened up directly underneath her car, swallowing it about 5 feet into the ground. Luckily, she hadn't been in it when it was swallowed by the sinkhole. It could have been much worse for the woman from Prague, who apparently just ran into the store to get some chips for her son's birthday party. But what she missed was the "no parking" sign left out on the street, as engineers were tunneling out a new water system directly beneath where she'd parked. This was not an accidental sinkhole by any means. The woman just shouldn't have parked where she parked. Still, if she'd been halfway out of her car when the hole opened, it could have been a deadly accident. Number 5. The Devils Sinkhole. The Devils Sinkhole in Rock Springs, Texas is one of the oldest sinkholes on the list for today. It's a dark and otherworldly vertical chasm that shoots down into the limestone bedrock of the Edwards Plateau, and according to local legends, it was once considered a sacred site by the Native Americans. There have been all kinds of strange treasures found inside the sinkhole, including arrowheads and Native American artifacts. Also, some evidence indicates that the Native Americans used the sinkhole as a burial cavern for their dead. This is because they likely believed it was one of the avenues that went straight to the underworld. In later times, cowboys etched their names into the limestone walls. While not immediately dangerous, you definitely wouldn't want to take a wrong step while visiting the Devils Sinkhole, which became a registered national natural landmark in 1985. It goes 400 feet down and is the largest single-chambered cavern in the state of Texas. It was allegedly created when an underground solution cavity collapsed. Today, the sinkhole is home to millions of bats, and visitors can enjoy the bats bursting out of the sinkhole at sundown and then flying into the bruised evening sky. Number 4. Deadly China Sinkhole. China is home to one of the deadliest sinkholes in recent memory. The incident occurred outside of a hospital in the capital city of Chening in the Qinghai province. CCTV footage showed the moment disaster struck when the sinkhole opened up and a bus carrying passengers drove straight into it. Not only that, but the bus exploded after it fell into the hole, and even a walking bystander was taken into the sinkhole as it broke through the earth. People waiting at the bus stop fled in the other direction, and a few people gathered to try and rescue the bus passengers, but they too were engulfed as the sinkhole widened. According to the state media, this terrifying sinkhole was about 32 feet in diameter by the time it stopped spreading. It was unclear how many people were inside the bus when it plummeted into the sinkhole, but initial estimates placed the death toll at least 6, with roughly 16 people injured. Sinkholes in China are often blamed on too much construction work happening too quickly with too little oversight. In 2018, a different sinkhole killed 4 people in another Chinese city, while a similar sinkhole in 2013 killed at least 5 people in the southern city of Shenzhen. Number 3. Taiwan Sinkhole. There's nothing worse than taking a leisurely stroll and ending up inside of a sinkhole. That's exactly what happened in Taiwan a few years ago during Typhoon Seola. The incident occurred in the Sanxia district of Taipei, and it was even caught on surveillance footage. In the video, a man can clearly be seen walking along the street until the ground opens up beneath his very feet and he vanishes, seemingly by magic. A rescue attempt was made for the poor guy who fell into the sinkhole, but according to CNN, he later died of his injuries. Luckily, there were no other people in the area to be eaten by this random sinkhole, and no others opened in the city during the storm. As for its cause, nobody was completely sure. It's likely that the typhoon rains caused damage underneath the street and the concrete above crumbled. Number 2. The White House Sinkhole. Back in 2018, a small sinkhole opened up in the strangest place imaginable. At the White House in Washington, D.C., a sinkhole opened just steps from the briefing room on the north lawn. The sinkhole was first spotted after several days of heavy rain, and it immediately became a social media sensation. Some people claimed that someone was trying to tunnel into the White House, and other wild conspiracy theories were thrown around. However, nobody was actually in any danger, and the sinkhole was quickly covered up. Crews excavated an area around the sinkhole and determined that it was probably caused by heavy rains, which eroded the soil of the lawn. The hole was filled with concrete, gravel, and soil, and then it was resodded. It took just one day, but soon all the evidence of the sinkhole had been removed. While most sinkholes are the result of cavities forming underground, experts say that the White House does not sit on any kind of limestone formation. Instead, the experts believe that the sinkhole probably resulted from previous construction on the front lawn, as it has been disrupted many times over the years with different construction projects from different presidents. However, it could have also just been a leaky water pipe that caused a bit of erosion. Then again, how funny would it have been if some kind of crazy ninja had burrowed under the ground to try to get into the White House, but accidentally came out on the lawn instead? Number 1. IHOP Sinkhole. There are a few acceptable things that can happen at any IHOP restaurant. You can get a large breakfast, you can get a horrible case of diarrhea, and you can feel extremely bad about yourself afterwards when you're sitting in your car in the parking lot. One thing that's not acceptable at any IHOP restaurant is for your car to be swallowed by a sinkhole. And yet, this is exactly what happened at an IHOP restaurant in Mississippi. And not only did the sinkhole swallow one car, but CNN reported that the sinkhole ate at least 12 cars in the parking lot. Thankfully, nobody was injured during the incident, but it was still quite the shock for everyone trying to scarf down 17 pounds of pancakes. Imagine watching all the cars in the parking lot be sucked into the earth through the restaurant's front windows. Apparently, the asphalt gave way and left an enormous hole about 35 feet wide and 375 feet long. The sinkhole was likely caused by a former city culvert underneath the IHOP location. The culvert, which is an underwater drain, probably collapsed because of new construction in the area. A spokesperson for International House of Pancakes told CNN that the company is very happy nobody was injured, and that the restaurant would remain closed until all necessary repairs were completed. It turned out that IHOP was not at fault in the slightest. As for the unfortunate people who had their vehicles destroyed, there was no report about any kind of compensation. Which of these sinkholes do you think was the most devastating? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and come back soon for more awesome videos right here on American Eye.